The Oregon Ducks pull off a signing day surprise, nabbing four-star Rodrick Pleasant away from USC. We had kind of projected him to land with the Trojans. Instead, he's taken his speed up north to run track and play football for the Ducks. This is a big one, Gorney, for Oregon on the late signing day.
Yeah, it's kind of akin to DeAnthony Thomas many years ago when, uh, Thomas waited until the last minute to pick Oregon. And when Pleasant sat down to make his decision, I was kind of watching it on Instagram and he was very nervous. You could tell he was like worked up about it a little bit. And his coach, Scott Altenberg, was sitting next to him, told him to settle in a little bit. And that's when it started really perking up in my mind that this could be Oregon, because if he was going to go up the road, why would he be nervous at all? So he was making a big decision. He pulled out the Ducks hat, excited about it and put it on and got fired up about it. So this is definitely a big win. USC has really, Sarah has been sort of a feeder school to USC over the years. Adoree Jackson, Rasheem Green, John Houston, a whole lot of other guys came from Sarah, and others are playing there now that look like they're going to end up at USC. So, this was a courageous move by Rodrick Pleasant, who has been a guy that hasn't talked much about his recruitment. He doesn't like talking about visits and schools and top lists and all those kinds of things. It's just his way of handling the process. But, Oregon had stayed involved, gotten really, into him with track as well. And I think that's what paid huge dividends here. Even though Lincoln Riley had a great first year, Oregon has proven that they can still get into Southern California for some top talent.
Yeah, and defensive back, kind of a weakness for them last year. I know they're going to have a guy who's a first-round pick likely, but they seem to need to reload at that position. They've done some work in the portal. What are the chances that he could be a guy who could push for early playing time?
Yeah, well, he has the speed, that's for sure. He's kind of a California state champion, 100, 200 meters. He ran against Nick Harbor and Dylan Edwards at the Under Armour game in a 40-yard dash, which isn't exactly the greatest measure of long speed. There's no doubt in my mind from a speed perspective, from an athletic standpoint, he can do it. And then he's more physical than he gets a lot of credit for. He can jam people at the line and he can drive them to the sideline. We saw at the Poly Bowl, he was kind of going one-on-one with Zachariah Branch and being competitive with him. So it is definitely a surprise that he didn't pick USC, because he had basically been connected to that recruiting class all along. He took pictures with those guys when they did commit pictures. He was asked to be in pictures with those guys when they did it. So as you kind of followed along here, it looked like he was a lock to USC, plus the going to Sarah and having all those guys go up the road to USC. It made a whole lot of sense, but he was going to do his own thing. He did it, and he picked Oregon.
All right, so Oregon misses out on Nicholas Harbor. They get Rodrick Pleasant and Dan Lanning, becoming a signing day surprise kind of coach here, it seems like, over the past few. So, all right, thanks, Gorney. Be sure to check out Rivals.com for more signing day coverage.